Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another ASUG affiliate webcast. My name is Tim Seymour, and I'm an account manager at ASUG headquarters here in Chicago. We have a really great program for you today, brought to you today by Verdantis. SR Group, driving SAP upgrade or consolidation success with harmonized material masters is the title, and with that, let's get started. A few housekeeping notes to keep in mind. All participants' lines are currently on mute. However, you can ask questions throughout the webcast. If you have a question, please type it into the Q&A field in the panel on the right side of the WebEx screen. We will be doing a Q&A session at the end of the webcast, so make sure and get any questions in so we can answer as many as possible. If for some reason we are unable to answer all questions, today's webcast is being recorded, and Verdantis, our webcast sponsor, will contact you to answer any unanswered questions post-webcast. Today's webcast recording and slides will be posted to the ASUG website, and all registrants will receive an email with a link to those materials. Our speakers today are Arthur Raguette, Executive Vice President of Verdantis, and Jose Bobrick, Team Lead, Central Master Data Management with the ASR Group. Jose is a team leader within the Central Master Data Management team at ASR Group, responsible for MRO and vendor master data. ASR Group is the largest vertically integrated sugarcane refiner in the world, with brands such as Domino Sugar, C&H, Florida Crystals, Tate & Lyle Sugars, and Redpath. ASR Group utilized the services of Verdantis back in 2002 to harmonize their legacy data. Since then, Jose's team has maintained the integrity of the master data with a homegrown system called CMDM, which in 2011 was replaced with Verdantis Integrity, a more robust tool to govern large amounts of materials. During their last 3 acquisitions in Europe and North America, Verdantis categorized and standardized 40,000 materials and translated in 3 languages 3,000 materials that were loaded into Integrity to become part of the 250K global repository of harmonized materials used by the ASR Group. Arthur Raguette is very passionate about the application of innovative technologies to solve real-world business problems, with a strong emphasis on large enterprise solutions. He has more than a decade of experience of working with software for master data management and data governance for multiple domains and across industries. Arthur's prior technology passions included high-performance B2B middleware and hybridized SAS applications for HR, employee, and education-related domains. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Arthur, and thank you everyone for being on the webcast. Arthur, take it away.
Timothy, thank you very much. I appreciate your introduction, and again to the crowd in terms of housekeeping. Please do ask questions throughout the session. We'll try to keep it as informative and hopefully a little bit entertaining as we go. Why do ERP consolidations fail? And just as importantly, how can we leverage the same benefits or best practices that prevent ERP failure into optimization for procurement and sourcing organizations in post-merger acquisition landscapes? Let's start there, and we'll run briefly through most of the agenda, and we'll focus a lot of our time today on Jose's experience with our Integrity product. Certainly everyone on the call understands SAP, ERP, why it's indispensable, why it is core to managing the operations of any medium and large enterprise. Over the last 5, 7, maybe 10 years, master data has had a very significant impact on the financial and operational health of an organization in terms of providing all of those reference points consistently across key stakeholders, business units, operations. And in many ways, solid, accurate, consistent master data provides a translation layer that simply transcends any given geography or language barriers. Just as importantly, master data quality affects the accuracy, efficiency, and reliability of business processes. Not so much that they make machines run faster, but they ensure that any metrics, any information driven from operational activities are consistently and well understood across the organization, enhancing better business decisions. So the consistent data management And the standardization and rationalization of master data is a foundation for increasing the return on investment, and I'll even say the effectivity of ERP investments, and at least allowing our topics today, ERP consolidations. Master data, if I was doing this presentation with everyone 4 or 5 years ago, people would be scratching their head. You know, what exactly is master data? Why do I need it? What's this MDM thing? Today, of course, I think it's much more common. But just to level set everyone, when we look at the role of master data inside of an enterprise, outside of things like the chart of accounts or employee masters or facility or plant masters, there are a couple of key master domains. The items that a company may make, the things that they buy to run their operations, the customers who buy their products, and the suppliers that are part of their global supply chain. These are all operational data elements that, when well managed, provide global consistent visibility, and when mismanaged, simply put up obstacles unnecessarily into the smooth running of a growing organization. Paramount to some of the challenges that we've run into is, although everyone may understand what a customer is or what a vendor is, what an employee is, and oftentimes even what a product or an inbound material is, there seems to be a lack of ownership for certain domains. The customer domain, I believe everyone knows who owns that. That is the customer relationship management team. That may be made up of marketing and sales, maybe a little bit of finance, but it's a very well-defined team for data ownership, data stewardship, and data governance. Vendor masters, this is supply chain. So procurement, accounts payable, small touch on finance. Item master is a little more undefined. If it is the sell-side product, product management, maybe R&D, maybe marketing. If it's buy-side product, maintenance, repair, overhaul equipment, is it owned by operations? Is that data owned by procurement and supply chain? Is it owned by logistics? And at what level do you own it? We all walk around and we know how to define a customer, how to define a vendor. But defining the materials, the equipment, the repair kits that are common in discrete and process manufacturing, natural resources, utilities, etc., sort of the heavy industries, that's where people's eyes sort of glaze over. And this disorganized approach towards maintaining material master data has some significant drawbacks, especially when you look at the broader scheme of how to handle multi-domain MDM, master data management challenges. We already have multiple business stakeholders. We've got enterprise information buses out there moving information across the systems. We have hardcore IT saying, well, this should be owned by a particular individual with a very firm, easy to follow provenance down to any individual change in audit. The reality, if we look towards the lower left of the screen, is there's very specific functionality. The rules of behavior change based on business function, business organization. People touch different parts of this information, whether it's the technical attributes of something or what the workflow should be, totally different. And as we look at synchronizing data globally across multiple systems, SAP and non-SAP, across multiple geographies and multiple businesses quite often, there is this incredible amount of inconsistent information. Even when the technology allows the synchronization and perhaps even the syndication, the challenge is that the data itself is not consistent. Often it's duplicate. It brings with it the heritage or legacy of errors. So the challenge is to remove the conflicting data across business factions, to instill a sense of ownership, to ensure that information is transferred quickly, and to recapture, or at least optimize, the investment in new infrastructure, often related to an ERP consolidation. So at the risk of hammering this home too hard, we've got various master record formats. We've got different SORs, or systems of record, different and congruent naming standards, sometimes no naming standard at all, lack of standardization, incomplete data, missing elements, and the effect of this bad data quality is pretty deep. True story, client, recent acquisition, they were number 4 in the market. They acquired number 2 in the market. CEO said quite proudly to his board, the reason we need to go through with this acquisition is that we can bring our efficiencies to a much larger organization and generate profit and positive cash flow. ERP consolidation effort began, and no one thought to take the time to make sure that the underlying data was going to be compatible. That CEO's challenge very quickly became a CFO's challenge. That CFO's challenge very quickly grabbed supply chain and IT and made it their challenge. The challenge was to get back to moving the EPS dial, earnings per share, to generate more positive cash, better operating profits, and basically carve out costs by leveraging these efficiencies. The bottleneck was purely the data. So it was a very tangible impact from poor quality master data, the ability to take that, leverage it across an organization, supply chain synergies around sourcing strategy, operational effectiveness, reduction of inventory from a product side, in terms of sell-side product, getting a level of part reuse, both in design, to some degree even brand or channel, and sort of a re-increasing or reinvigoration of employee productivity. So many organizations take, I don't want to say the quick and dirty steps, but they tend to look at the individual problems in isolation. And some of the solutions that are out there today for improving data quality for your masters in general, whether it's a material master or vendor or customer master, are sort of the die-hard, go back to the ETL rules, right? The extraction, transformation, and load routines that are available from most platform providers. They're very generic. Oftentimes, IT teams are very well skilled. The challenge is that they are domain agnostic. They don't understand that there is a difference between what you buy and who you buy from. Another might be to double down on your investment in EAS, Enterprise Asset Management Platforms, at least for the materials. Not a bad solution if you're in a very, very asset-intensive industry. But if you do have any sort of in-stock spare or sell-side product issues, EAM is going to fall short. It's not that these are horrible things, simply that they are not sufficient to replace ERP consolidation efforts, nor do they provide that sort of inherent transactional tracking that you might need for operational performance. A few of our customers have gone down the sort of the commercial catalog space, looking at managing materials as a sell-side catalog repurposed for inside use. They're not horrible solutions, but they tend to lack workflow. So the accountability of a complex workflow that may stem across an organization across the globe is a bit of a gap area. And sort of the old standby. For the last 15, 20 years, those data content factors that will just throw a bunch of people reviewing data by hand, maybe some scripts, maybe some tools, trying to put data back in place. These are all partial solutions, but they tend not to address the key problems. And the key problem is that you're looking for an automated solution, one that is consistent, and one that does not require a lot of development or coding. These are business stakeholder-oriented solutions where the subject matter expertise for the domain is embedded in the tool. How repeatable is that tool? Can the tool itself learn from the data that goes through it? Will it scale to your organization's needs? In other words, is it cloud? Is it scalable? Can it handle big data volumes? And how strong or how robust is the actual code behind it? How mature is that solution set? And can this process of improving data quality be integrated into the daily operation of your company? Doing it once a year, better than not doing it. Doing it once a quarter, sure, you're getting better. correcting and imparting data quality in everything that goes through the operation, and doing it in as an unobtrusive, in other words, just part of the normal workflow, gets you to where you want to be. So why should businesses care? Well, another bubble diagram. If we run it by the numbers, 83% of all data migration projects either fail or have significant overruns in either schedule, and half of them exceed schedule by almost 3/4. 2/3 of them will exceed their budget, and 1/3 of the projects will fail entirely and just never complete. Part of the reason for this is we all tend to start with the easy stuff first. So there are small masters that are fairly straightforward to get our arms around. Chart of accounts, currency master, location master. For some organizations, maybe the employee master, depends on how many employees you have. Then there are key masters that are a little more, I'll say, industry and domain specific. Supply base, vendors, customers, right? Sometimes these are just lumped into the party masters versus the products you sell and the materials that you buy. So I largely called either the product master or the material master. The key to unlocking effectivity of your systems is addressing these key masters first and addressing them well and early in the migration cycle. Depending on who your partner is as you're looking at an ERP consolidation, it could be a consulting organization, could be a management consulting firm, could be a technical consulting firm, could be an SI, could be a platform outsourcer. These folks are absolutely top-notch in their core business. Standing it up, running it, not a problem. Moving data from your various legacy or historic platforms into the new one, that requires a little sharper of a knife. And that should be part of your blueprint for your systems consolidation or your M&A activities. It's not an expensive item when it's done up front. It's sort of expensive when you do it as an afterthought. To include master data rationalization, and specifically for this example, the material master, has a very simple flow of data or flow of steps. Extraction and aggregation of the information from the legacy systems, the standardization, classification, normalization, attribution, and then enrichment of that data allows you to make intelligent decisions, and in our particular case, automated intelligent decisions, to drive master data rationalization in terms of identification of exact match and near match records. The ROI impact, and everyone says ROI, so let's make it a little more exact. Where does the money come from a solution such as this? Is the quicker and greater realization of positive cash flow freed up from improved buying, reduction in inventory, and these are hard dollar or hard euro, as the case may be, savings. Same items, year over year, same category, same vendors, simply doing it because you have more knowledge. On an operational efficiency perspective, CFOs might consider this more soft dollar. We're seeing impacts that are 2 to 3 times hard dollar impact. And most of our hard dollar case studies are 8 digits or greater, right? So we're talking 20, 40, 60 million in savings within 12 months of go live. Just keeping an eye on the time. So I'll skip forward. So the bottom line, I guess in many ways it's also a financial bottom line, is that clean, reliable master data enables successful enterprise initiatives. If you build master data rationalization into your ERP consolidation, and that includes also M&A planning, the result is that your increased data quality and your migration to a more mature data quality stage pays back in easy to measure, hard currency operational improvement. Now, at the risk of jumping into a bit of an advertisement, let us take you through the solution set that we've developed over our last 10 years that we've had running in a number of large accounts. I will focus on the getting it clean aspect, which is master data rationalization, deduplication, and general improvement to the data quality. And then Jose will pick up and go to the data governance, how to keep it clean once you've got your data structured. So Verdaptus offers two solutions. Verdaptus Harmonized, which as the name might, hopefully might impart, is meant to harmonize or bring together different data from different sources and create a single unified output that can either be SOR managed by us or system of record loaded back into SAP, etc. This is a platform that leverages a couple of core technologies, and we released it 3 years ago. It is based on inbound or the inbuilt tools that we've had in the running for about 10 years. We productized this 2 years ago. So it is available both as a licensed technology, software as a service, or as a turnkey where we can help you get to your end state. The four pieces of technology are across the bottom of the screen. Automatic classification or categorization as a legacy product that has done some significant volumes across 26 different languages. And this reads material or product information to cluster and categorize what those items are. That is a key step for us because once we know what that is, the software then assigns data templates. And we have pre-existing data templates for over 3,700 major industrial categories that take it down to a noun modifier level. So at a classification level, we are figuring out what it is. We are then applying that to any of the major taxonomies, UNSPSC, E-Class, EOTD, NATO, PIDEX, depending on the industries. AutoSpec then assigns the data templates to those items and extracts the attribute and attribute value. In SAP parlance, that is the class and characteristics from the legacy data. Autonorm normalizes those values, the units of measures, corrects for misspellings, the horrible abbreviations that we all see across our information systems, with the end result being a normalized and standardized item, product, or material master. AutoCrawl is then responsible for taking the manufacturer part number information that's extracted and then reaching out to publicly available sources, either the web or the marketplace or a supplier or manufacturer database or your internal PIM solution in the case of sell-side product to further enrich or improve the data quality. At that point, and really only at that point, are you capable of deduplicating in an accurate way. So that deduplication is best managed collaboratively with a team of individuals. To that end, our solution embeds our best practices developed over, since 2004, so really the last 10 years, that allows collaboration of your teams, your partners, your suppliers, as well as ourselves if and when needed, to carve up this business or carve up the input data according to domain, according to business, according to language, and have a unified flow to track this project from start to successful completion. The embedded software within the platform provides categorization and classification at a very high rate of speed, typically exceeding 200,000 records per hour, and doing it across multiple taxonomies or groupings. So it can be both to a sort of noun modifier, it can be to a sourcing-friendly categorization, or it can be tied to an asset map and or tax and base class. The extraction of attribute or class and characteristic values from the input data occurs, again, in an automatic way. The patterns for common spellings, misspellings, abbreviations, the industry-specific nuances are all embedded within the core tool, and extraction allows a much more parametric comparison on attribute-by-attribute basis to determine exact and near match as well as part equivalency. And in the case of manufacturer or sell-side parts, can make a significant impact on part reuse or design reuse for BCD components. And having all of this bundled into a software as a service platform that is effectively on-demand, annually subscribed. This provides a certain level of flexibility to you and your organizations for getting this done on your terms, leveraging your knowledge and your expertise in combination with external subject matter experts, whether it be from Regatas or any of your trusted or our trusted partners. What we've seen in working with our customers as we've deployed Harmonize is sort of a point-to-point comparison for those organizations that are M&A heavy or that are aggressively consolidating at their own pace rather than a big bang approach. This kind of solution in terms of Get It Clean just provides sufficient automation to bring these from a wish list to reality, at the risk of sounding very cliched. In terms of raw throughput compared to either a scripted or more of ETL style approach, we are seeing performance increase numbers that are either 10 times or 22 or 37 are sort of the three hard metrics I have. These are from production clients that had benchmarked prior approaches prior to them using Harmonize. And a 10-fold or a 22-fold pure throughput at the same quality with the same data set has been documented by multiple clients in three industries. Just maybe a sample case study. One of our clients in the oil and gas space, fairly large major, running a relatively large material master, catalog master, a little bit over 800,000 plus SKUs coming from 6 different core systems, many of which were SAP, into a framework that would allow both the automated cleansing and then collaborative quality assurance for both their engineered components as well as their off-the-shelf or stock items. And the collaborative environment allowed their key suppliers and their 3PL, 4PL providers to contribute to the improvement in data quality to provide the kind of global visibility that this multinational oil and gas company needed. So with that, and I realize I've talked for a good 20 minutes, I need a quick sip of water, we're going to transition to Jose Barber, MRO team lead for ASR Group. And to that end, Jose, if you're ready, I will make you the presenter.
Thank you, Arthur. Great information. This is Jose Bobrick. Good afternoon, everybody. So this is Jose, team lead here for the Central Master Data Management Group at ASR. ASR Group is the largest vertically integrated cane sugar refiner in the world. Our 9 refineries are found in 5 countries across the globe, and collectively we can produce more than 6 million tons of sugar. We also own and operate our sugar mills in the United States, Mexico, and Belize. Our brands, they are leaders in their respective markets. We sell our branded and private label sugars in the Americas, the Caribbean, Europe, the Middle East, India, and Asia. Some of our well-known brands are Florida Crystals. You can see the logos here. Domino Sugars. For those of you on the West Coast in California, CNH is very popular. Red Path is our brand in Canada. Tate and Lyle Sugars in UK and Europe, among other brands. Well, in the last 12 years, our company has grown by acquisition and created the need to migrate new plants onto a common ERP system. We use SAP here. We have a mature central master data group that has been around for more than 10 years. And from our headquarters here in Florida, the CMDM group, Central Master Data Management, from here we manage and govern our master data for suppliers as well as materials. Okay, so a little bit of the scope. What does our master data group do here, we govern 250,000 materials, and this includes stock, non-stock, direct, indirect materials, and they are all in 3 languages: English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We serve over 300 requesters. We call them end users. Most of them, they are plant maintenance engineers, and we create for them 1,000 plus new materials per month. And this is all across 30 different locations, 30 different plants. They are spread out in 6 countries. We deal with 2 SAP systems, and they are with a real-time integration with Integrity from Verdantis. All of our materials, they are classified according to the UNSPSE classification, and every class, it has specification sheets that are maintained by our group. And some examples of the materials that we deal here every day, the materials that we handle, mostly they are MRO, stands for maintenance, repair, and overhaul, also known as our spare parts. Then we deal also with all the industrial supplies or chemicals, empty packaging materials. These are important. They form part of the bill of material of our finished goods. We also manage ingredients. Then a little bit of the story here. For many years, we used a homegrown system. We call that our CMDM portal. We used this old system to create, to extend, and update materials across all our locations. But due to the rapid growth of the company and the necessity to address more volume and more complex data from different parts of the world, in 2011, we decided to replace it with a more robust tool that will address all of our data governance needs for materials and suppliers. So we evaluated some other systems, including SAP MDM. We selected Verdantis because of their expertise in the area of MRO especially. And now we are live with SAP, with Integrity of Verdantis for over 3 years. Now, let me talk a little bit about our SAP implementations. During my career here at ASR Group, I've been through many acquisitions, small, medium, and large, and extra large. And I'm going to talk today about our last 3 acquisitions where we implemented SAP. We brought them into our SAP system. In March of 2012, we went live with the refinery in London and Portugal. That was the Tate & Lyle Sugars brand. And in late 2013, we had another acquisition, a smaller one in Canada. And well, after the acquisition of the Tate & Lyle Sugars was completed on paper, the next stage was for the operations teams to unlock organizational level gains. So for a few weeks, the UK and the Portugal operations, they run like a separate company without a global level sourcing and less than a perfect master data control. Now, well, to be fair, each plant had their own rules and their own governance procedures for creating materials, but without a solid and central control, duplicate items, they always get created, and at the same time, it ends up with multiple different descriptions. And this affects every function from sourcing, inventory control, and plant maintenance. So with the implementation of SAP ECC6 at these plants, we brought in MDM control to the plants on priority. What we did is we classified and translated 40,000 materials into SAP and Verdantis integrity systems, and simultaneously we roll out integrity to these two plants. Well, 2 days of training later, all plant engineers, they were familiar with integrity and the new way to create, to search, and update materials. This enabled teams to look for their items quickly and, well, and more importantly, to trust their data on the screen, right? So global level sourcing agreements were extended to many of our common parts and machinery, and duplicate safety stock was identified. Well, I need to mention that during these 2 refineries in 2012, due to the strict timelines and during these acquisitions, we could not completely standardize, enrich, and deduplicate those items. But doing a complete harmonization, that's what I would call the best practice. This is why one of the reasons that MDM, it should be in the acquisition ERP implementation blueprint. Always, my recommendation, before any acquisition, includes master data strategy in your blueprint. So for this, during the next acquisition in 2013, before we brought those items into SAP and integrity, we processed them through Verdantis Harmonized. This is the other tool from Verdantis, and we put all the information on specification sheets. We enrich all the information, we deduplicate it, and this structure information for each category, it ensured that the automatically generated long and short text, it was structured. It was searchable by our plant maintenance engineers. So in all of these acquisitions, Verdantis, they helped to roll out the MDM discipline and control to our newly acquired plants in London and Portugal and Canada. So they make this SAP ERP implementation a success from the business operation perspective. So now, today, we are live with integrity from Verdantis for over 3 years. And yes, integrity is our data governance solution that we use today, and it supports cross-functional collaboration. Next, I would like to show you every feature on integrity of Verdantis, but we don't have too much time. So what I am going to show you now is the most common feature of this tool. Here in integrity, we can configure our material data governance rules. We configure workflows, and we do translations in other languages. We load our taxonomy, our classifications. We run all kinds of reports. But here I'm going to show you on this screenshot how do they create material. So a plant maintenance engineer, they will hit the create button, and they have 2 options for creating materials. On the left, they can start by entering the manufacturer name and the manufacturer part number, or on the right, they can enter by describing the category, the classification of what is it that they are trying to create. It could be an electrical motor or a ball bearing, a belt, filter. So they will enter here the description. Let's say that they are trying to create a gate valve, so they will enter here on category description gate valve, and Integrity from Verdantis will pull all the classifications that pertain to gate valves. So we select the one that applies, gate valve, and on step number 2, then we enter manufacturer and manufacturer part number, and next, Verdantis is going to show the specification sheet for gate valves. Our specification sheet includes the noun and modifier of the category we are trying to create, in this case, valve, gate, and all the attributes or characteristics that are needed to properly describe this material. It includes predefined values on those drop-downs to ensure standardization. Units of measures are also standardized. It has prefixes and suffixes. So after the plant maintenance engineer populates all the characteristics and attributes for a gate valve, next, Verdantis is going to, we hit check duplicates, is going to bring up all other existing materials within the same category that have similar characteristics, and it will highlight in green those characteristics that are the same. Here, this is the step where integrity is ensuring that we are not creating a duplicate material or a material with the same fit, form, and function. If all the attributes matches, it will give us a red flag and tell us that we need to use an existing material. So then we have the opportunity here to extend the item to the plant, the refinery we are dealing with. So in this particular case, we're creating a gate valve, and we don't have an exact match. So we're going to hit Create New. And next, we have to select the plant or the facility where are we trying to create this material. Again, we serve over 30 locations. In this case, we're going to create for our Baltimore refinery. And next, we have the basic data view of this material. On the basic data view, we can see the short description. This is a standardized description that has been automatically built based on the previous specification sheet. And this short description is a 40 characters field, just like SAP in the material master of SAP, because this will integrate with SAP. And whatever doesn't fit on the 40-character description, the overflow, it goes into what we call the basic data text. Other people call it the long description. Now, we did some easy configuration on the background, so integrity from Verdantis, it knows that because we're trying to create a gate valve, the base unit of measure is not a box or a dozen, it is each. So now the requester who is initiating this request, they have the ability to change the unit of measure, but integrity is suggesting that this should be each. Also, it is providing the material group, valves, and it is indicating the material type. Now, in SAP, it's material type ERSA for spare parts. Now, on the left, you see a series of SAP views that the end user can populate, they can display the alternative descriptions, because this gate valve will be, the description will be created simultaneously in 3 languages. Also, the requester, they can attach supporting documents like drawings, pictures, quotes, and under the manufacturer view tab on the left, they can indicate who is the manufacturer. And it could be multiple manufacturers. This request then is going to go through a workflow. Typically, it will go to the purchasing group. So the buyers, they will reach the 4th tab on the horizontal on the top, the purchasing accounting. They will populate the price. They will populate the product lead time, and the buyer will ensure that this material is purchasable. It is sourceable. After the buyer approves, it will go finally to the central master data analyst, who is going to do a final revision of this request. All the plant view fields are automatically populated, and the CMDM analyst will approve this request, and it will integrate with SAP. So it is going to generate a new material number that is complete, standardized, correctly classified. It is not a duplicate for sure. And okay, so the end user gets his new SAP material number, and they can go ahead and create a requisition if they need to buy or create their bill of materials. To summarize, some of the benefits of implementing integrity at ASR Group is that it improves timely material creation across the enterprise, again, serving over 300 users. Most of them, they are plant maintenance engineers, that they create the spare parts, but we also have other people creating empty packaging materials, so people from marketing, from the artwork department, also from purchasing. Well, it also definitely eliminated the creation of duplicate materials, and most importantly, it ensures maintaining our MDM standards globally. It promotes the reduction of inventory of spare parts by identifying duplicate items and equivalent parts, and also by sharing some common expensive items. It supports all locations, all countries. It has the ability to change the user interface, well, for us in 3 languages, and it doesn't only change the user interface, but the material descriptions itself are generated in 3 languages. So if you are purchasing an electrical motor in Mexico, the purchase order will print the motor description in Spanish. And if the very same motor you're buying in the United States is going to be the same SAP material number in English, and the same SAP material number in Portugal in Portuguese. And integrity, it supports SAP implementations through our master data uploads. And well, with this, I conclude our journey in our master data world here at ASR Group. And I pass here the presentation back to Arthur.
Well, Jose, thank you very much. As always, it's great to hear from people who are using the software and have sort of very real-world experience. And as always, very much appreciate you taking the time. I know before Timothy, our moderator, yells at us, I think we've got about 6 minutes left. like to say, sort of wrap up and then take some questions. Some of the questions that have come through to us during the session were very much based on will the software, will Integrity, work with only SAP, or can it be used between SAP and non-SAP systems? So just from a redundancy perspective, I can answer that. Although more than 2/3 of our customers are very SAP focused, typically large SAP multiple instance shops, we do work with other platforms. So although it's very SAP centric, yes, integrating Oracle EBS, Oracle JDE, Nexmo, Ventix, Ellipse from an EAM perspective, that's all sort of par for the course. So when we talk in terms of SAP consolidation, that is what we mean. It's consolidating to an SAP environment. One of the ways that you can certainly sort of try that out, and I invite everybody who's participating today to reach out. If there's interest, please, I'll make sure there's an email at the end of this, info@verdontis.com. If you're interested in a sort of proof of value, we have a fairly well-templated process that includes sharing some of the KPIs and sort of goal types that other customers of ours have used to not just justify their process, but also help monetize the value of data quality improvement. So I mentioned earlier on in the conversation today about hard savings versus soft savings. We have a framework that helps you put that kind of target and goal in place. Both the things that the CFO is going to try to cut to shreds, as well as those things that your operational folks will come to enjoy. So I certainly invite everyone to take advantage of that. I think I've fielded one or two questions while Jose was wrapping up his session. Are there any other questions? I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3.
There are some questions. Actually, I got quite a few that came into my box, Arthur. And,
Great.
And you have a little more minutes. We've got probably about 5 to 8 minutes or so let's get into the questions. How long does it usually take to get executive level support on understanding data governance / integrity is key and provide accurate resources to maintain?
Ooh, that's a great question. Jose, do you want to respond to that, or do you want me to take that?
You can take that, Arthur.
No issues. I don't want to put you on the spot. So generally we're seeing if it's for master data rationalization, sort of that initial, hey, we need to do this as part of our consolidation effort, we're seeing that executive sponsorship is fairly straight, fairly direct. But that's a 3 to 6 month challenge, and that's just being very realistic. And then allocating the budget to do that is often the next budget cycle. I think the second part of that question was allocating the right technical resources to do it. Once you have executive sponsorship, then acquiring either that dedicated in-house team to act as subject matter experts, or partnering with a limited number of internal SMEs, subject matter experts, and an external partner. That is, I'll say, the selection cycle that we're seeing today is anywhere from, at the very short end, 3 months, more realistically 6 to 9, to make that selection contractual and go forward decision. So start to finish, 12 to 15 months is fairly realistic. So say 3 to 6 for executive sponsorship, and then 3 to 9 for execution in terms of actually getting that project off the ground. I hope that answered the person's question. If not, they can follow up separately, and I'm happy to respond.
Sure, I think that was really good. Next question, and this comes from James. In your questions, let's see, it is, how do you use Autonorm if the values do not exist? And he went on to say, how do you rationalize descriptions when the legacy data is incomplete?
That's a multi-step. So both in the integrity solution as well as in the harmonized platform, Autonorm requires input for it to do its normalization. And the normalization rules are things that you would normally associate with an ETL process. So element transformation, element mapping, dictionary translation, flip-flop, I'll say standard parsing rule. In order to get to the point where you have something normalized, take the cryptic descriptions that are being provided, categorize that so that you know what that item is, and then what AutoSpec does is take those cryptic descriptions with embedded values and separate the value from the characteristic, or the characteristic from class, or the value from attribute. Then you would need to go through this auto crawl process to enrich, as long as you have a part number or a third-party repository. They say trash in, trash out. Right? If all you have is a description that says, call Mary with a phone number for the detail, you're never going to improve that data element. But if you've got some semblance of part number or manufacturer part number in case of buy side, or you have an internal item master reference to a legacy system, there's probably a path to improve that data quality through enrichment of third-party information. But I would say back to James, though, because that's a great question. It's a surprisingly technical question for a one-hour session, is be very careful when you start to look at trying to get to 100%. There's always data out there that is just not worth, I'll say, getting that final 2 or 3 yards of runtime out of it.
Arthur, that's a very common scenario during acquisitions. Well, they give you, let's say, 10,000 materials that you need to harmonize. And I always say step number 1, let the business first identify which of those materials actually had transactions in the last couple years. How many of them, well, definitely if we have inventory, if there is stock, how many of them have been purchased, if any of them are on bill of materials. And then after that analysis, we get rid of several materials, so they are out of the scope. Now, for those that we absolutely have to harmonize, yes, it happens that some of them, their legacy descriptions are very poor, so there is not much to harmonize. But if there is a manufacturer and a manufacturer part number, then that's where we have to get additional information from the manufacturer's websites, or also we can get back to the business and ask them to provide additional information before we can continue with the harmonization process.
That's why you are a practitioner. You've been doing this for a while. Thank you.
And Jose, actually, I've got a question directly for you. Actually, it's from Joy. How many MDM personnel do you have handling the 1,000 requests on a monthly basis?
Okay, no, all our CMDM analysts, they are in a central location here in West Palm Beach, Florida, and we have 2 and sometimes 3 people that we are constantly processing the influx of requests. And as an average, in 2014, we created more than 1,000 materials per month. But this is not with any third party. This is with our internal master data resources.
Great. And I think I've got time for one more question. This is actually maybe a technical one as well. It's also from Joy. My company implemented the procure-to-pay portion of SAP almost 3 years ago. We started the blueprint for production 2 years ago, but acquired another company earlier this year, which set us back. With the acquisition, we now have 3 systems that we are trying to maintain. Has anyone experienced this? And if so, can you provide some insight on how you handled the triple system maintenance? What governances did you implement?
Arthur, you want to take that?
Sure, no issue. So Joy, for that, I'm probably thinking of our existing customers. multiple systems. For integrity for ongoing data governance, I think our maximum right now is, off the top of my head, I'm saying 7 active systems, maybe 8. What integrity provides is that control point. We become basically a shadow system of record. So whether they're SAP systems or a combination of SAP and non-SAP, that synchronization and having a master system of record that is replicated within integrity and within your premise or within your system is pretty straightforward. The syndication of information between systems simply mandates that you decide where do you want your master to be. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. If the question is more towards the harmonization or the bringing all the data together, also relatively common that you've got disparate categorizations, classifications, naming systems, and you want to be able to bring those together in one, and that's part of the reason that harmonize exists. It's why we built that out. One thing that I'll probably say from a positive lesson learned, and it's something that folks who are looking at data governance, data control should take to heart. When you have multiple systems, that means also that you've got multiple vocabularies, the way people refer to things. So the system is implemented, integrity does this, and it's just good practice, handles those legacy words and abbreviations, and I'll say sort of those cultural, the inherited cultural peculiarities of those individual system users. So that if, I'll just take something simple, if I've acquired a UK firm, I want to make sure that when someone looks for a spanner that they're given a wrench. And I don't want to hassle them for the fact that they call it a spanner. There are, of course, much more technically deep examples I can use, but that's the easiest one. Or looking for a bearing, that could be a Kugellager in Germany, a Rodamiento in Colombia, or a bearing comma roller comma bearing, anywhere here in the United States. You want to have that flexibility inherent in your data governance so that your change management is minimized. Right? The largest cost you have for data governance is the changing of people's behavior. It's not the software or the implementation. So choose a software platform that allows you to minimize your change management. That's my recommendation. I'm sure we're out of time at this point. Sorry.
Yeah, you in fact are. Did y'all want to say any final words before we close the webcast?
Jose, do you?
No, thank you. And if you have any additional questions, they can contact you, and we'll take it after. Yeah.
Very good. Certainly on my side, Jose, thank you very much for taking the time today and sharing your journey. I think it's a great journey, and I appreciate what you've done, really, straight. Also to everyone who's joined us today, especially those who took the time to ask questions. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate your attention. And to Jose's point, if you have any questions for either one of us, please reach out to Redantis, and we'll route the questions appropriately. Have a